Hi everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and I'm here today with the design team post for Scrapping for Less. I am so excited to show you this card today because I have seen shirt cards for years, and I have always wanted to make one, but every time I have seen them, there is a lot of cutting and a lot of measuring, and I don't want to do that. So I watched a ton of videos, and I kind of took some from all the different videos that I watched. I took something from pretty much every video that I watched. But the one that I took the most from, which actually gives you the card itself, or the mechanism, I guess, for the shirt, is from Rachel Tessman. That was the video that she gave me the size. And this size card is an A2 size card. Now, the first one I made with that Hawaiian or tropical paper from the Flavor of the Month kit, and I'm also going to be using this neutrals pad. Now this part that I'm showing you right here is completely optional. I just liked it better. You're going to cut two pieces, one at 4 inches by 4 1/4 and one at 4 inches by 4 1/8, and that's going to go on the inside of the card if you choose to. Now here is the copy paper. You are going to score the short side, the 8.5 piece side or inch side, at 1 inch. Now be careful you don't rip the paper because it is very, very thin. I did that the first time I made this. I ripped my paper. And then fold that over, and you can just kind of use your fingers and put it down, but you do want to make sure that you're using your bone folder or something to get a really crisp edge. Then take the bottom and have it meet with that folded over inch. So it's really like 2 inches down from the paper, from the top of the paper. But you're going to have it meet right at that line, that inch fold that you already have there. And like I said, just make sure you go over it. And because it's copy paper, it folds so easily, you don't have to worry about it crimping too much and things like that. The next score line that you're going to make, the last score line that you're going to make, is long ways on the 11.5 inch side. Make sure you don't have your cutter there. Use your scoring tool to score at 2 1/8 inches. So 2 1/8 inches. Now, while the paper is completely open, fold that 2 1/8 inches over, and then fold the other end into the center and meet that. So that is going to create your 4 1/4 card. Now, the next thing you're going to do after you get that folded over into the center, so the side that opens, you're going to keep that towards you, and you're going to fold backwards, or a mountain fold, that inch one, and just let that go in behind, and the opening is still facing you. Then you're going to take the second fold and make that a valley fold, and just fold that right up to where that will go, and you're going to have that inch opening. Then this is going to make the sleeves. You're going to take the side, one of the sides, and fold it all the way from the score line going across, and then fold it all the way up to the top of it, and that's going to create your sleeves for the shirt. The next thing we're going to do is create the collar. Now you can feel where that 1 inch is, where that fold is, and you want to take each corner of the paper and fold it to that 1 inch mark right in the center, and that is going to create your collar. Now if this was pattern paper or cardstock, it would be hard to maneuver all of this, but because it's the copy paper, it is super easy. And then you have the little flaps there, and you just pop that card up, and it fits right on there, and it is just perfect. I love this. Now all you have to do left really is decorate it, which that's the fun part now. The hard part is, I always saw when I was watching the videos, was actually making the mechanism to make this go. Now some people didn't put anything on the inside, or they put something on the top end or the bottom end and not the top end. I liked having it both because I thought it just kind of covered up all the folds, and I just liked it better. But that's just a personal thing. Some people actually put the sentiment on where the flap is open for the sleeves, in that kind of V right there. They stuck something right there. And whatever works for you is fine. There's no right or wrong in this. But the shorter one, so the 4 by 4 1/8 one, would go on the top. Now I will suggest using liquid glue, because one, this is copy paper, you cannot lift it. Once you put this down, you cannot lift it up, and you will see that I have this completely crooked after I get this down, and I can't lift it up without restarting the whole card. So do make sure that you use the liquid glue for this if you have it, or you got to make sure that you're really precise. I in general am not. So I would suggest using the liquid glue because it gives you that few seconds to be able to move it around. And I was just making sure because it's so close in size, I wanted to make sure I got it in the right way. Now here's the other thing I would suggest is to glue down the collar so it's completely on the inside, not the flaps where you're going to flip the card up, but the whole flap that you folded over, and just glue that down because that doesn't matter. That's not the part that needs to, go up a little bit. You're going to slide that right into that, and like I said, you got to make sure this is straight and mine is not, and you will see that in a moment. The other thing is, if you're not going to put one on the bottom, then I would suggest gluing down the sleeves the same way as the collar. Now, this whole thing will go on a piece of cardstock at the end, and that'll kind of firm up the whole thing. Now, like I said, this is just kind of decorating. You take whatever piece of 6x6 pattern paper that you want, cut 1.5 inches off of the bottom. So whatever way you want your pattern to go, the way you cut it, that 1.5 inches off the bottom, it's going to be sideways. So that, the way I just turned it, is the way the pattern's going to go. You're going to mark that at 4 1/4 and cut it right at that 4 1/4 mark. And that is going to leave you 1 3/4 inch piece wide. That's that little piece that I stuck there to the side. That's going to be the front of your shirt. Now this one, like I said, it's 1 3/4 inches. You're going to cut at 2 1/8, and then the other one at 2 1/8, and you're going to have about 1/4 inch left. And I threw mine. Actually, I think that must be the piece that I used for the pocket at the end. Now, when you cut these, you're going to cut these diagonally, but they have to be opposite. So make sure you're doing it at opposite corners. And then I always suggest when you're cutting diagonally like this that you start in the middle and press your cutter down or your blade down into the paper. And you'll see in a minute when I get done cutting this how it's kind of on the opposite side, and it creates that V. Now here's these 4 pieces are going to be for the collar and the sleeves. Now, whatever side or pattern or whichever way you're going to do this, make sure that one of the pieces, the long side is going down like towards your waist of the shirt, and the shorter side is up on top by the shoulders. Now, these next 2 pieces, you're going to keep the long side of the triangle and cut 1 inch off, and that's going to be the piece for the collar. Again, the long side you're going to keep and then cut that 1 inch, and that's going to be the piece, and you'll end up having to snip off the edge of that, but it fits in there perfectly. When to put it on there and to complete the decorations for the shirt. And those are pretty much all of your big pieces that you have to do. Like I said, you can decorate with sequins, you can decorate with buttons, you can decorate with enamel dots. That's what I used on the first one, that Hawaiian shirt. On this one, I put the tie. There are just so many cute things that you could do. You should put a pocket, don't put a pocket. But you'll see on here I create a pocket for this one, but I didn't have an edge, and I wanted to put an edge, and I tried to play around with some of the scraps, but I didn't have one big enough. And then I finally found one at the very end, and I put it on, but it wasn't actually in this video. Now that's going to go on the front, and I would suggest 1, making sure that your card is open when you do it, and then 2, if it's hanging over a little bit, you're going to want to cut that off, because the card will fit much better and work much better if you do that. So right now it's a little bit off, and you see how it kind of bubbled up there, and you can make it fit, if it's just a smidge off, but I ended up cutting it off. Now here is the collar, and I'm going to adhere those pieces on, And I used the liquid glue for these because after I messed up the inside of this, I decided that I wanted to use the liquid glue to make sure, in case I had to move it in that second or two after I stuck it on there, I had a chance to do it at least. Now these, you're just going to, like I said, flip it over and just snip off the excess of the collar right there. And that's going to be pretty much, like I said, the entire shirt. How you decorate it from here is really all you have to decide. The only other thing that I do at the end is I take a piece of cardstock that's cut to 5.5 by 4 1/4, and then I adhere the entire card onto that piece. I will go through how I decorated this real quick, but like I said, for as far as the mechanism for the shirt itself, that's it. That is how it's done. And the sleeves fold under. Make sure you fold them under so you're not crimping the card's pattern paper if you flipped them, you know, on top of the card. I am going to show you how to make this tie because it's a little funny to make it. So if you want a pocket, I used a 1-inch square and just rounded 2 of the ends. And then to make this tie, I'm going to kind of walk through this. So I used a piece that was about 4 1/4 inches. I'm going to get this black is what I'm going to put on this card. So this I'm making the pocket. And like I said, I just rounded 2 of the edges for the pocket, left the other one straight. And then the tie part, so I lined it up on my mat. So this is where I was trying to get a lip, or, you know, the edging for the pocket, and I didn't have a piece that fit right, but I ended up finding one, like I said, at the end. So if you look at the pictures, in the pictures it actually has it on there, which I was glad. I guess I could have left it a little lopsided, maybe had it a pattern, but I didn't, so it doesn't matter now. But anyway, so you're going to take this 4 1/4 inch, you're going to mark at the bottom, right in the center, and then at 3 3/4 of an inch, you're going to just draw a line across it. On the top, you're going to mark at 1/4 of an inch on each side. Now it's easier with the ruler to draw a straight line, and you're just going to, from that 1/4 of an inch down to that 3/4 of an inch line. Then on the bottom, I didn't even draw a line for that, but from the 3/4 of an inch to that center marking that you put on there, you're just going to cut that off, and that's going to give you your tie shape. Which, when I watched that, I thought that was really cool too, because I was having trouble thinking how that was going to work. Now I centered it up on my mat, and then I put that 1-inch square over it. This is going to make the knot. And then I just marked off on each side how thick the tie base was. And then I just went from where I marked up diagonally towards each corner. And that's it. That's all for the tie. And then just make sure you don't glue, you know, get glue on the collar, because like I said, that does have to open. So you do want to make sure you keep that clear. This will just go directly onto right underneath the collar. And like I said, a lot of this has to do with how long you wanted it. This one's just a smidge shorter than the card itself. And then the knot, make sure you put the knot in the right direction, because I actually put it on upside down when I was trying it or playing with it. But that's it. There is the card. How stinking cute is it? I love it. And then, like I said, you're just going to grab that piece of cardstock and put it down to finish up you completely finish the card so that it has a base to the card. Now I just chose an oval that I put happy birthday on from that same stamp set that I used on the first card. And then I used a rectangle that I had cut out from something. I'm not even sure why I was going to use it, but I had it in my stash. So I just used both of those pieces are from my stash that I had cut out at a different time and was going to use on something, and then decided not to. I do pop the sentiment, the happy birthday, up with a little bit of foam tape. This foam tape is super thin. I don't even know where I got it from, but it's kind of perfect for this because there's quite a few layers on this already. Then I'm just going to adhere that rectangle down there for me to write whatever I decide to write on. And then just make sure you get the collar glued on well, and this is exactly the size, so make sure that you kind of line that up really well. And then, like I said, just fold the sleeves in, and that is how it will meet. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I am really hoping to see lots of people make these, because I was super excited when I was able to make this so easily. Head over to Scrapping for Less, check out all the fun paper pads that they have coming out, and I hope everybody is staying healthy. Take care, have a great day. Thanks for joining me.